Hi guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 Democrat primary first four states, and I'm going to be doing my potential newfound prediction either with Hillary Clinton or without Hillary Clinton. I will be doing this map on the first four states. That would be Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada. Just a little bit of a rundown and an analysis here based on how it would look like in the first four states in either possible way. The state of Iowa is a state that I think is going to go down the wire. You know, Biden is not leading in the polls anymore. Elizabeth Warren has just overtaken him as I speak now. Today she finally got the lead, surprisingly, and she is up in front, I believe, by just like 0.1%. It's like 26.3 to 26.2. And when it comes to Iowa and New Hampshire, these are states that should probably demographically, in just terms of the base that she's going to be looking at getting out to vote, people like a lot of female voters, white female voters, people like teachers, people like in the certain public sphere of the union that still are going to vote Democrat, especially a lot of these people being women, probably going to come out for Warren. Maybe some of the old traditional union voters will back Biden, but even then, Warren is still more of a protectionist, and Bernie could get some of the vote, but I don't think it's going to be enough because you need 15% to get any delegates in the state, and I don't think that Sanders is roughly going to get there. But I think Warren is going to break 30. I think she'll get around 36% of the vote in the state. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is probably going to get around, 29%. As for the rest of the candidates, and we'll do Hillary after we do this and see how it would impact the race. Kamala Harris, I don't see her being a factor at all. She'd be lucky to get 5%. I think Bernie is still going to get around 15%, and I think that Andrew Yang is going to get the rest of the vote here. Probably not really. I think it would be dispersed between the other non-important candidates, but Andrew Yang is still number 4 in the betting odds. He's at 7% chance to win the nomination. He's almost overtaken Bernie, and he's really only at 3% in the polls. It's a long shot, but if Bernie continues to fall nationally, I could see Yang taking some of his support, especially from the younger people. So I think Iowa is a state that regardless should go for Elizabeth Warren. Now the state of New Hampshire. This is another state that should benefit Warren as well as Bernie Sanders as well, because he's from Vermont. They have a very similar state to Vermont. It's not quite as left-leaning, but the Democrat primary voters backed Sanders overwhelmingly last time. I would expect them to back him overwhelmingly this time as well. But Joe Biden, I think, would do okay. I think he'd get roughly around 29%. Kamala Harris is putting time and energy there, surprisingly. I don't think she'd get much more than roughly 4%, though. I think Andrew Yang wouldn't get much more above, 12%, if that. Probably less, because Sanders is going to do well here. I don't think Sanders will win the state. I do think that he'll get roughly around, I guess you could say 25% of the vote. Maybe Biden will get 25. I think Sanders would probably get like 29. And then Warren would win the state with 8 delegates here. Elizabeth Warren being the, I guess you would say, more viable left-wing, so-called progressive candidate, will take the state of New Hampshire. Now the state of South Carolina, we can fill out this map as well. Joe Biden here is going to be his time to shine. I think he'll get close. He's not going to do as well as they projected him to do before. I think he'll get close to 50% of the vote. I believe Kamala Harris will get some of his vote there. I think she could get like 12%, 12, 13. Bernie Sanders still has maybe some support there if he still wants to run at this point. He'll be at like 11%. Elizabeth Warren is going to get probably in the 25 range, and then Andrew Yang will round it out. Don't just look at Yang as a representation of him, also a representation of some of the other candidates. If Buttigieg is still in the race, I'm sure he might get some votes in some of these states as well. I don't believe that Beta is going to hang around that long. I think by the time Texas rolls around that he'll be pretty much done. I mean, he could do okay there, but even if he comes in 5th place in his home state like the polls want him to, he'll probably drop out beforehand to avoid any future embarrassment to his political career, even though he's had quite a bit of that already. So after the first 3 states, the big win in South Carolina actually put Joe Biden over the top here And Nevada's, ironically, sort of a microcosm of the whole primary delegates as a whole. And you saw this in the Republican and the Democrat primaries. A Republican primary, I believe that Donald Trump won by roughly around 25 to 30 points. He roughly won the final total by the same margin, probably like 45 to 25 as a whole for the whole primaries. And then Sanders lost to Clinton by like 5, and that's kind of what he lost to her by in every single state. So looking at the Nevada primary, I really think that Joe Biden, I think he'll get roughly around 20% of the vote. I think he's kind of starting to bottom out here. I do think he'll probably will stay in after his win in South Carolina, of course, but Kamala Harris not going to do, I mean, we've talked about the prostitutes coming out to vote for her because she basically slept her way up to advance her career. As for Bernie Sanders, he'll probably get around 13% of the delusional, somewhat delusional vote you would say is left out for him. I think Warren would probably start to perform better and get closer to 40, and I think Yang would get the Asian vote out, and he'd get roughly 16, maybe put Biden up to 22, and that would be the final map out of the state of Nevada. So this is your map with these candidates. Now, Elizabeth Warren will win the most delegates in the first 4 states. I agree that this is totally a reasonable map here. I think that South Carolina is going to go for Joe Biden, but Elizabeth Warren is going to do well in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, so she can carry those states. And as for the rest of the candidates, even though we had a historically large field, I think 27 total had declared, but that's beside the point here. As for what's going to happen if Hillary runs, we can do this map now. It'd look differently. The question is, would Biden even be in the race at this point? Basically, we could talk about the Ukraine scandal potentially being a Clinton ploy to take down Biden and Donald Trump. The deep state will do crazy things, they'll even sacrifice their own children, such as Biden, if it means doing better in the election. So I would assume Biden would take the back seat here, drop out probably because of some faux health concern that would happen, and Hillary Clinton would jump in, and she would go toe-to-toe with Warren in the state of Iowa, but I think that she possibly could win. She has the woman factor going to her side, and maybe, you know, Sanders would do a little bit better because he is the male candidate. And he will have to gain, and possibly Andrew Yang could gain a little bit too from this. But Hillary Clinton will win the state of Iowa. And when it comes down to New Hampshire, this is a state that we've talked about being more of a progressive state. Hillary is not very popular in the Democrat primary, not enough to win every state. Why will she be a viable candidate for the nomination? However, if she does run, well, the bottom line is she has something to run on. The election was stolen from Russia. It's all Russia, and Donald Trump is, you know, orange man bad, and she should be the president right now, and she'll be like, oh, I'm nothing. It's like, I really won the first time. I'm just running for re-election, even though I never was elected. Her tweet on Twitter today said, Trump, stop, you know, you can stop tempting me to run. A lot of people said, oh, that might mean she's not running. I didn't really view it as that. I kind of viewed it as, why would she talk like that and even respond to it either way? I think it's just kind of weird. I think she's really gearing up for something, and we'll have to see. But I don't think she'd win. I think Trump would beat her by a larger margin than he did beat her by before. But as for New Hampshire, this will go to Elizabeth Warren still very narrowly. As for South Carolina, Hillary Clinton had probably the same amount of black appeal as Joe Biden did. I think the map would look relatively around the same. Possibly some black men might, you know, especially in the evangelical, as well as some of, I guess, what you say remaining white Democrats down there, if there are any left. Some of the conservative Democrats in South Carolina might prefer, I guess you would say, a male candidate. I think Bernie Sanders could potentially fill that void in a place like South Carolina, despite being far left on other issues. But I think that Hillary Clinton would take this state of South Carolina convincingly, and this is why she would basically be able to rely on the South and superdelegates to win again. Nobody else will really have a chance. And I think that the progressive crowd would be more pissed off than before. But as for this thing here, when it looks at this, I think Warren's totals and Biden's totals would, obviously Biden not being in the race, would drop. You can maybe make a case for the rise of Bernie Sanders, and I think this would come down to the wire. I think Hillary Clinton would pick off the state of Nevada. In fact, I think that Warren would still win it, but it would be very close. It would be a one-delegate race, and I think that Warren would barely just edge out Nevada. But I think that Super Tuesday, when it comes down to the other states, I mean, Hillary will win California, she'll win New York, she'll win Texas, and Florida, as well as the whole entire South. And even if she can afford to lose the entire Rust Belt in the primaries, and it still would give her the nomination, have it locked up by early May at the, I guess you would say, latest, in fact. But thanks everybody for watching this video. Please give me a like, hit that like button, and click that big red button to subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. And be sure to comment down below, what do you think the map would look like? Do you have any different opinions on how you think the map would look like if these were the options? But thanks everybody for watching. Red Eagle, out.